Fantastic Beasts didn't fail because of magic. It fails because of structure. So let's take a go at rewriting it. Welcome to today's video on Popcorn Programming, and we're going to be taking a hot seat as a Hollywood writer. In this one, we're going to be tackling the Fantastic Beasts franchise, which is possibly one of the most disappointing franchises I've ever had to experience. Because the first one is so good, and the second and third ones aren't as good as the first one. And given how much I love the Harry Potter franchise, generally how enjoyable all those films are, even if some of them are a bit, the quality goes up and down, but how generally enjoyable the Harry Potter films are, and how good the first Fantastic Beasts one is. I don't think I've ever been as disappointed in a film as I was Fantastic Beasts 2 in particular. So I'm going to be trying to rewrite that one and the third one to kind of make the whole franchise make sense, and maybe be able to get the fourth and fifth one we were supposed to get, so we can see that Grindelwald versus Dumbledore duel that we were all desperate to witness. But first, I think an important place to begin would be a summary of what we actually got. So, pop. So what happens in Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them from 2016? So, what happens is that Newt Scamander arrives in New York City with a suitcase full of magical creatures. There's that cool bit where you can click the button and it flicks between being a thing for muggles, so it looks like it's just clothes and general bits and bobs you take on holiday with you. And then you can flick it back and he gets all his magical creatures, which are good. Some escape and they end up causing chaos and mayhem, and it attracts the attention of MACUSA, who are essentially the American Ministry of Magic. We then meet Tina Goldstein, her sister Queenie, and a no-mage or a muggle baker by the name of Jacob Kowalski, who is one of the best characters across all three, to be fair. He does do really well, I will give him that. A dark force called an Obscurus is attacking the city, and it's revealed that the troubled orphan Credence Barebone is that Obscurus. The Aura seemingly kill Credence, and then there's a twist that the Aura Percival Graves is actually Gellert Grindelwald in disguise. And that is basically how the film ends, and that sets us into the second one, The Crimes of Grindelwald from 2018. So again, what happens? Well, at the beginning, Grindelwald escapes custody in quite a confusing scene. He begins recruiting followers by preaching wizard dominance for the greater good. We've got Dumbledore, a younger version than we see in the Harry Potter films, this time played by Jude Law, and he recruits Newt to try to help to stop Grindelwald. There's a magical blood pact present that prevents Dumbledore and Grindelwald from fighting each other. Much of the film centres around Credence trying to find his identity of who his parents were. And the final twist is that Grindelwald tells Credence his real name is Aurelius Dumbledore, and he gives him a phoenix. The plot gets especially complicated in this second one, because there's a baby swap scene, which means that Lita's brother, I think, dies at sea, and then it's very complicated. And then obviously this Dumbledore twist on top of that just gets even more complicated. Then that leads us into Secrets of Dumbledore, which, to be honest, was facing an uphill battle already, owing to the kind of surrounding Johnny Depp controversy. At the time he was having the issues with Amber Heard in court. And then, obviously, so he gets fired by Warner Brothers from this franchise, which means them bringing in Mads Mikkelsen to play Gellert Grindelwald, who I think does an excellent job, to be fair. But it already meant that fans were unhappy with Warner Brothers, so therefore not going to... the film had to be a genuine 10 out of 10 perfect film. I think fans to be like, okay, that was good. Because Johnny Depp's a popular actor. So what do we actually get, though? Grindelwald, who, as we said, was now played by Mads Mikkelsen, runs into a magical world leadership election, and this election takes place using a magical creature called a Quillin, and that bows to someone who is pure of heart. Grindelwald, though, has a Quillin, and he kills it and brings it back to life in order to be able to rig it in order for the election to take place to guarantee him victory. Dumbledore's forming this secret team. Part of this team, he's got the likes of Newt Scamander, Theseus Scamander, and Jacob, and a few others, in order to counter Grindelwald and spoil his plot to take over the world. It then gets revealed that So Credence is revealed to be a Dumbledore. That got revealed at the end of the second one. We find out who his parents are, and we'll find out who his dad is, and that is Aberforth Dumbledore, Dumbledore's brother, or Albus Dumbledore's brother, should I say. And then the blood pact gets broken. Dumbledore and Grindelwald finally duel. Grindelwald loses the political support but manages to escape. And then Credence reconciles with his father Aberforth, and then the Quillin kneels to Dumbledore to reveal that he is apparently pure of heart. So basically across the trilogy, you've got Grindelwald rising as a wizard supremacist leader. Dumbledore is emotionally and magically restrained from stopping him because Dumbledore is in love with Grindelwald. It's never revealed if Grindelwald feels the same back, but we know for a fact that Dumbledore does love Grindelwald. Credence is used as a pawn during their conflict, particularly by Grindelwald. And then the story moves from creature adventure to a political war drama, which is kind of why the first one works so well, because it focuses on those fantastic beasts and how they kind of work in the world, why they're cool, why they exist, why it's kind of cool that Newt is able to... Newt essentially Hagrid, if Hagrid had finished school and obviously was magically capable as well, because he gets expelled in his third year, so he only has up to that point worth of magical education, whereas Newt has the full time. Well, I think Newt also gets expelled, if I remember correctly. But anyway, that is what actually happened, so let me have a go. So we'll go film by film, what changes I make, and hopefully they'll feed across the whole trilogy. The first one, I am changing virtually nothing. Everything is basically the same up until the final reveal at the end, when basically the reveal happens that the aura is actually Johnny Depp gets revealed to be Grindelwald. Percival Graves, who up until that point had been played by Colin Farrell, he does an excellent job, I've got to say. Basically it's revealed that he's Grindelwald, and that's Johnny Depp's character. So I'm basically doing it so it can work one of two ways at this reveal. I've got the one I'm going to pick, but I'll explain the two ways that I did consider. So the way I'm going to go with it is Colin Farrell's going to be revealed to be Grindelwald. That basically the aura he plays as Percival Graves, still keep it that he is actually Grindelwald, but Colin Farrell is Grindelwald basically, and the Graves character is just an act he's put on. You can also do it so that he gets turned into a different actor. You could go with Mads Mikkelsen, pick a different actor maybe. But I'm going to stick with just keep Colin Farrell in there because he's a good actor, he does well. He showed in The Penguin, he knows how to play a good villain. He showed in this, in Fantastic Beasts 1, they could play a compelling villain. So I'm going to keep him as Grindelwald. And that is the only change I'm making to the first one. Everything else, love it. So good. Probably my second favourite overall Harry Potter film behind Chamber of Secrets, if I'm honest. But that brings me nicely into the second one. So obviously, at the end of the first one, Grindelwald gets arrested. This time played by Colin Farrell. He's going to be in prison at MACUSA. The MACUSA prison, but it can still be that big skyscraper. It doesn't really matter what the prison looks like, but that's essentially what is going to be happening. But we're not going to be doing so he's getting transferred or anything like that. We're not doing any of the character swap malarkey because that's all very confusing. We're basically just going to have a normal prison break at the beginning to let basically get Grindelwald out of prison from his supporters. Because in the first one you can do it so there's bits where he's obviously got a bit of a following, this Graves character, and he seems to be doing things that some people might agree with. So he has a few followers. You can keep the character who helps him get out. I think it's Amethyst is how it's pronounced. They can basically have them help Grindelwald get out, and then have the word that Grindelwald has escaped spread. And then during this film, we're basically going to kind of keep the same thing as as what actually got in Crimes of Grindelwald, which is that Dumbledore and Grindelwald are trying to form armies, trying to basically get themselves... Grindelwald is aggressively trying to get himself into a position of power. Dumbledore just kind of wants peace, and those two become dueling. But Dumbledore's things are to stop Grindelwald from being able to get his power. So we're going to try and basically keep that kind of thing going. So you've got Grindelwald will be building up his following. Dumbledore will have his following, but he's not like aggressively seeking a power position. And then one of the people they are trying to get there is Credence, who the character that is Nagini is going to be basically protecting Credence from both Dumbledore and Grindelwald, because she basically just wants to keep him safe. They'll keep the Credence as an Obscurus, so that's fine, no issues with that. In the end, Credence is going to side with Grindelwald again, just because because you can make it play out so that you get the feeling from Grindelwald, and when you're hearing Grindelwald talk, and when Credence listens to what here's what Dumbledore has to say versus what Grindelwald has to say, he feels he'll be better under Grindelwald. He'll have more freedom and the ability to express himself magically to kind of protect the Obscura. Not not kill off the Obscurus, but basically contain it a bit better. Then again, we're going to set up the Blood Pact because I think that is an interesting element to make it so they can't just go and straight duel each other. Kind of like Harry and Voldemort couldn't just go straight duel each other after the fourth one because of the wand cause. That's fine. I've no issues with having issues with dueling each other. I think that does add to the story overall. I'll keep the Blood Pact, but throughout the film, I'd like to place a few flashback scenes where you can have them kind of working together. And so, like when they were younger, or when their relationships forming, have Dumbledore falling in love with Grindelwald. You can set it up whichever way you want to go. If Grindelwald's in love with him, or he's just using him. But basically, build it up to the big duel when you'll get between kind of Aberforth, Albus, and Gellert that ends up with Ariana dying. And then also have it so that you show the bit when they form the Blood Pact with one another. And then we're basically going to end with the rally in the graveyard, because I thought that was quite well done. I actually did quite like that scene. But what we're going to have is that we have Grindelwald again showing the sort of like the predictions, if you will, of what will happen if he isn't. If basically people don't follow what he's saying, they're going to show the dangers of not believing in Grindelwald's message. By showing what will happen in World War II, the atomic bomb, including that again would be cool. As we show what will happen if Grindelwald isn't if you don't believe in Grindelwald. Obviously, it's all propaganda, purely just to make it so that people believe in him, so he can get in charge and dominate the world. Well, that is quite a cool concept. And you have the Dumbledore's team show. You have the big duel at the end. You can keep the Lita, does she love Newt or Theseus? That's all fine, because that does feed into the third one, the bit of dynamic between those two. But keep that kind of thing, and obviously we have the core team that we've assembled on Dumbledore's side. Having that fracture is actually quite interesting. It obviously reduces the numbers Dumbledore has to work with, but it also means that you can place the seeds of doubt on Grindelwald's team as to, are these people actually going to stick with him once they realise what he's actually up to? And then that's basically how the second one's going to end. So that feeds then into the third one. So obviously the wizarding world is going to be divided now. There's going to be people who believe in Grindelwald's propaganda he's been saying. You have people who don't believe in it, so kind of supporting with Dumbledore. People in the middle. We're not going to have any election stuff though. Basically, to start the film, Grindelwald can keep that meeting, but Grindelwald just kills them all. So then kind of declares himself in charge. And then you have some chaos ensuing, and the world again gets split between Grindelwald's team and Dumbledore's team. And then throughout the film, Dumbledore is trying to figure out how to break the Blood Pact. You can do it so there's he researches ancient magic, he researches, just does loads of research and looks into different things, different beasts that potentially could be used. And then you don't need to set up fully how, if he's discovered it yet. You can have him have a few ideas and test out a few different things throughout the film, because obviously if these two are more successful, then 4 and 5 are going to happen. We can tease something in. We can get it destroyed in 4, then set up in 5 the big duel. But basically, throughout this film, Credence is going to realise that what Grindelwald is saying is pure lies. He's like, purely mis-selling things. He's lying. He's purely selling propaganda to get people to believe his cause, and then he's not going to follow through on any of it. So Credence basically turns on Grindelwald. In the end, he'll end up sacrificing himself to save some civilians from Grindelwald. And then I would like to try and have Credence survive if possible. So I'd like to do it so the Obscurus kind of explodes out of him, but that keeps him alive. So just in hospital, because I think he can play into the 4th and 5th ones as well. We're just going to end between Dumbledore and Dumbledore realising he has to try and duel Grindelwald. And if he does it, he basically can find the way how to destroy the Blood Pact. So that you've got it. So basically, the way it would work is the Blood Pact would sort of be in the middle. So then their spells should hit each other. Well, kind of meet hitting the Blood Pact. And if they meet at the same time and connect on the Blood Pact, then the Blood Pact will be destroyed. So we're going to have a duel between them, that Dumbledore is trying to destroy the Blood Pact And when I have it, so Grindelwald realises quite quickly what is happening, and he then just flees to make it so the Blood Pact isn't destroyed going into the fourth one. Well, that officially confirms the end of Dumbledore's friendship with Grindelwald, the end of his love affair. You can still admire him and kind of have the feelings of love towards him, but he's no longer wants to try and redeem him, he just wants to stop him. And it essentially confirms that the war is coming between Dumbledore and Grindelwald. Then that sets up in the fourth one, ways to destroy the Blood Pact. You can introduce some new beasts throughout these, because there's still some quite cool ones. Obviously, the Curlin's a cool character for the films. I just don't like kind of how much the film revolves around the Quirrell being involved. So hopefully this way as well we've tackled some of the reasons why the Fantastic Beasts franchise failed. Some of those reasons are around the too many subplots. We mentioned like the Leta Lestrange kind of baby swap bit, the Credence being a Dumbledore. There's way more you could bring up. Nagini being a subplot in the second one, but binned off in the third one entirely is a bit confusing. So we're basically going to strip back a bunch of the subplots and just focus. Here's the main story we want to get to tell. The place where they get to is the Grindelwald Dumbledore in 1945. We are here from the first one. How do we get from where we are in the first one to here? Don't need any messy subplots to keep these things going. We can introduce a few other things as well. Always going to make it clear that there's a clear protagonist, because that was another issue the films had. There was too many going on. The first one is clearly around Newt being the protagonist, but then in the second one it's like there's Newt, there's Dumbledore, there's Grindelwald, there's Credence. Too many to focus on, and in the third one it gets even messier. And also we're going to make sure that Grindelwald actually has focus. He's still going to do a good amount of speeches, but they're going to lack weight. They're going to be weighty speeches, they're going to have emotion behind them, they're going to actually mean something from what they basically entail, what falls out from them. Hopefully they mean something, and hopefully they are a bit... The films have a bit more oomph, emotional weight to them. There are consequences to things, and it sets up some interesting stuff whilst honouring, obviously, what came before them in terms of the Fantastic Beasts films, but also what already we know in the Wizarding world to be kind of lore from the Harry Potter franchises. And I think they're just tidier, to be fair. Obviously, you guys can let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. What did you think of my rewrites on Fantastic Beasts, and how would you have made the Fantastic Beasts films? Let me know in the comment section down below. If you've enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and click the subscribe button if you're new around here. That's all for now, so just like to thank you for watching, and we will see you later. Pop pop!